This might be one of the greatest stories ever told. It's a journey that's been millions of years in the making. A true saga of survival, of adaptation, and this just relentless curiosity that took our ancestors from the savannah all the way to the digital frontier. This is the story of us.
Think about it. On a planet that's just teeming with life, with countless species playing their part in the great dance of evolution, only one, as far as we know, ever stopped, looked up at the stars, and asked, why? That single question, that's the spark that really ignites our entire story. I mean, really, how did we get here? How did we go from a particularly clever ape to a species that builds sprawling civilizations and even tries to figure out its own origins? Well, to answer that, we've got to go back. Way back.
Okay, let's dive right in. Our story doesn't start with cities or even with fire. Nope, it begins with one single, incredibly important decision that was made on the changing landscapes of ancient Africa. It all starts with the very first, kind of wobbly steps that set our ancestors apart from all the other apes.
And this time scale, it's just immense. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. Our journey kicks off around 7 million years ago with some of our earliest known relatives, like a fella called Sahelanthropus tchadensis. They weren't quite apes and they weren't quite human yet, but they were the very first hint of what was coming, living right as the forest started to shrink and the grasslands took over. And this was the gamble that changed everything. Bipedalism. Just getting up on 2 feet. Now think about this. It actually made our ancestors slower, a lot more unstable, and way more visible to predators. It was a huge risk. But the payoff? Oh, the payoff would literally reshape our entire destiny. You see, this one change had this incredible domino effect. Walking upright, that freed up our hands. All of a sudden, we could carry food, we could carry our babies, and eventually we could carry tools. Our whole perspective shifted. We could see further over the tall grass. And over millions of years, just the simple demands of balance and coordination helped to rewire the very structure of our brains. So let's fast forward to about 4 million years ago, where we meet species like Australopithecus. You've probably heard of the most famous fossil, Lucy. Now, she was fully upright, no doubt about it, but her brain was still pretty small. So how on earth did they survive? Simple. Teamwork. Social behavior became just as crucial for survival as any physical trait. So, okay, we're walking. We're cooperating, that's great. But the next giant leap comes when our ancestors stop just living in their environment and start actively shaping it. This is the beginning of a revolution, folks. Right around 2.5 million years ago, we see something new emerge, our very own genus, Homo. And with it comes Homo habilis, the handyman. For the first time, we find clear, undeniable evidence of stone tools, rocks that were intentionally shaped to cut and scrape and smash. This is it. This is the dawn of technology. And what this did was create this amazing feedback loop. I mean, to make a tool, you need foresight, right? You got to find the right rock, know exactly how to hit it. This process selects for smarter individuals. And those bigger brains can then imagine and create even better, more complex tools, which, you guessed it, demands even more brain power. It's this incredible upward spiral of technology and biology pushing each other forward. And boy, was this strategy successful. Meet Homo erectus. These guys weren't just tool makers. They were true pioneers. They were the first of our ancestors to walk out of Africa and spread across whole continents. They mastered fire, which let them cook food, stay warm, and scare off predators. And get this, as a species, they survived for almost 2 million years. To put that in perspective, we, Homo sapiens, have only been around for about 300,000. It's humbling, really.
So, by about 400,000 years ago, the world was actually home to several different intelligent, tool-using human species. Our direct ancestors were not alone. But then, something new appeared on the African stage. Us. So, what was it that made the difference?
Well, let's compare ourselves to our most famous cousins, the Neanderthals. Now, these were not primitive brutes. They were strong, incredibly intelligent, and perfectly adapted to the cold climates of Europe. But here's the key difference. Where Neanderthals cooperated in small family groups, Homo sapiens could cooperate in huge numbers. We're talking hundreds of strangers, all bound together by something totally new. Complex language, shared myths, and powerful stories.
But this wasn't just a simple story of replacement. It's way more complex and interesting than that. For many people of non-African descent alive today, about 1 to 2% of their DNA actually comes from Neanderthals. So we didn't just compete with them. At some point, we met them and we interbred. We literally carry a piece of their legacy inside of us.
This right here is the absolute key to understanding us. Our advantage wasn't a bigger muscle or a sharper tooth. It was our superpower, the ability to create and believe in shared fictions. Things like laws, gods, nations, even money. At the end of the day, these are all just stories that we agree to believe in. And it's those stories that allow for the massive-scale, flexible cooperation that let us outcompete every other human species and eventually cover the entire planet.
And once that superpower was unlocked, man, everything changed. The slow, grinding pace of biological evolution was suddenly just blown away by the lightning-fast speed of cultural evolution. The final act of our story, so far, is one of just dizzying acceleration.
And if you look at the timeline, it just keeps compressing. It's insane. Millions of years passed between our first ancestors and the first stone tools. Hundreds of thousands more passed until we started farming. Then, in just the last tiny sliver of our history, a historical blink of an eye, we get cities, writing, science, computers, and now, artificial intelligence. The pace of change just went exponential.
For millennia upon millennia, our entire technological frontier was defined by a single, powerful act, striking one rock with another to create a sharp edge. This was the foundation, the literal bedrock of everything that would ever come after.
And today, well, we're still striking things, but now we strike keys on a keyboard. And with those simple little taps, we build entire worlds that exist only as pure information. The journey from that first sharpened stone to the device you're watching this on right now, that is the story of human ingenuity.
And here's the thing. The story isn't over, not by a long shot. In fact, it seems to be speeding up. For the first time in the history of life on this planet, a species is not just being shaped by evolution, we are beginning to actively direct it. The next steps might not be purely biological at all, but some kind of fusion of our biology with the very technology that we ourselves created.
And that brings us right here, to today, standing at this incredible crossroads. We've traced this unbelievable path from ape to AI, a story of pure adaptation and imagination. But the book of our evolution is still being written. The big question now is, what comes next? What will the humans of the future, or whatever comes after us, see when they look back and tell their version of the story of us?